Hi everyone, my name's Amy and I work for Links as a communications and fundraising manager, and today I'm just going to be chatting through a few ways that you can increase your online presence and make yourself stand out on social media. So it's great to be with you all. Let's get started. So this is just going to be general to all types of social media platforms. I don't know which ones you all use or whether you want to increase what you're using, but this is just going to be general for all of them. If you do want any more specific information about certain platforms, then feel free to get in contact and I can chat through the different platforms with you and what might be good for your organisation or what you might benefit from using. But yeah, this is just a general how you can increase your online presence, whatever platforms you use. It's so important that you're making content that stands out, that you're making content that's recognisable as your brand and your organisation, and that it's identifiable. So familiarising yourself with really simple things that you probably know already, but your brand, your colours, your fonts, your logos, things like that are the things that are going to make you stand out and make you different from any other organisations. That when people are scrolling through social media, they're seeing content from you and straight away they're knowing it's yours because you've got those unique stamps on your content that makes it identifiable. Don't feel that you have to brand everything with a logo. You don't always have to be that obvious with your branding. Things like the fonts you're using, the consistent colour codes that you're using, they're all helping to put a unique stamp on your posts, and people will know that's Links or that's whatever your brand is, because you are being consistent in that way. Feel free to play around with this. You don't have to make everything really uniform. You can mix things up and have fun with your content, but make sure that you are just using that consistency and making things recognisable as yours. Make sure that things like your photos are edited in similar ways, anything that makes your content flow. So that if you saw it all together, if you have Instagram and you see your grid all together, you want it to flow and you want it to look like it all fits into a certain kind of genre, a certain category. And that's really important, just to portray your organisation and who you are. In order to deliver relevant, exciting and engaging content, you first need to pinpoint who your audience and your demographic is. Who's your content aimed at? Who are you wanting to engage with the posts that you're putting on? Your demographic could be an age range, it could be a gender, an ethnicity, it could be a common interest, it could be a mixture of all of them, but you need to have a clear view in your mind of who your target audience is in order to make sure that your content is relevant for them. Everything you do needs to be a conscious decision. So your design, your wording, it needs to be intentional, and you should make sure it's fitting in with your brand and with your audience. A good way to do this is to think about your organisation's character. So you can ask yourself the question, if your organisation was a celebrity or a personality, who would they be? What would they be like? What would their characteristics be? Have a little think about this and try and come up with 5 words to describe your organisation, and think about the personality of your organisation. And this really helps you to create a voice for your brand, and that will in turn help you to relate to people and help people to engage with you, and you can do this to fit in with your target audience to make sure you are attracting the right people, you are engaging the right people to view your content. So it's really important to think about who are you as an organisation, and who is the character, what is the character, and what are you wanting to portray to others. When you're thinking about your character, this will then help you to go on to think about your organisation's voice. So the voice of your organisation is how you are coming across on your social media platforms. What you are saying and how you are saying it has such a huge impact on what people are going to get from your content and how they are then going to go from seeing something you put on to taking that next action and going that step further. So your organisation's voice is vital. Each organisation has a slightly different voice depending on who you are, what you're aiming for, and what you're wanting to get across. Everyone is slightly different, but it's so important to get your style of voice and to know that so well that you don't even have to think about it. It just comes naturally. And that sometimes takes time to build up, but it's a really important thing to make sure you are thinking about. There can be some variation in voice depending on the type of post you're putting on and the platform you're putting it on, but generally the voice of the organisation should be consistent. You don't want it to look like lots of different people are posting, even if they are. You don't want that to come across. You want your voice to be consistent and to portray the character of your brand. The voice isn't just the way that you say things or the way that you write your copy. It could also be down to things like the way you lay out your captions or the designs that you do. It all just contributes to building up your brand. So when thinking about your social media and your organisation as a whole, it is so important to think about your unique selling point. Now, I'm sure this is something that you've probably thought about a lot in the past, but it's just really good to have a reminder that everything you are putting on is reflecting who you are and what makes you, you, what makes your organisation what it is. And it's so good to think about this and to make sure you're reflecting this in the content that you are putting out there. So what makes you stand out from others? What makes your organisation what it is? What do you do differently? How can you share that with others? What do you stand for? How can you engage others in a unique way? Once you know your USP, it brings clarity to your brand and it will help everything else to kind of slot into place. So once you know your unique selling point, your character and your voice become clearer because you know what you're portraying and you know what you're wanting to share with others. So this is a really key factor and something to really think about. When it comes to planning with social media, everyone's different because we all work in different ways and we all do things differently, and that is absolutely fine. But it is good to have some kind of plan in place when it comes to your social media because this helps provide more quality content. It helps content to remain relevant and not just to put on to fill a gap because you don't really know what to put on. It gives you a clearer structure. It helps provide variation and also consistency in what you're putting on. And if you're part of a team, it makes it easier to communicate with the rest of the team and to share with them what you're putting on, when people can contribute ideas, things like that. It just makes the whole process run a bit smoother. It gives you time to think in more detail about content, really what you're wanting to share, what you're wanting to put out there, and to really give it that thought that maybe if you're rushing and putting something on kind of spare of the moment, you might not get a chance to do. It allows you to schedule in advance when you want to. Some people like to schedule all the time. Some people like to schedule just when they need to, but it gives you that chance to schedule what you're wanting. Practical ways to plan. You can do this by having some kind of communication social media calendar. Something visual is really good because then you can see where there's gaps, where there's a lot of content that you need to spread out, all that kind of thing. I find having something visual quite helpful. But like I've said, we're all different, so do whatever works for you in that way. Thinking about ongoing content, so what you're putting on regularly, what content is weekly, what content is monthly, and then what content is just one-off content that you put on as and when you need to. I like having like a year's rough outline of what I'm going to put on when. Nothing really specific necessarily, but just something that says, you know, this is happening here, this is happening here, so that you have that knowledge of what's going to be what needs to be shared and when it needs to be shared. It's also helpful because this helps you think about different themes, different times of year, things like international and national days that you might want to flag up on your social media. So having a year's rough outline does help with that. And it's so important to be flexible. You can plan as much as you want, but there's always going to be those things that you want to put on spare of the moment, or those things that you hadn't planned for. Your plan is just a model. It doesn't have to be set in stone. It doesn't matter if it changes completely, but it's just helpful to have that plan and to have a base that you're working from. But it's important that you find a planning system that works for you and works for your organisation, because that's the most important thing. Providing variation is key when it comes to social media. So only 20 to 25% of your posts should be action posts. So that's getting people to give to a certain project, or wanting volunteers, or wanting people to buy a product. Whatever it is that you do as an organisation, you just need to make sure that not all your posts are about that, but that there is variation within that. This means that everything else, apart from what you're asking for, should be things portraying your character, fun posts, updates, things that are going to engage people and keep people wanting to come back for more. This isn't set in stone. It doesn't have to be 20 to 25% necessarily. You don't have to monitor it very closely, but it's just good to be mindful that you are mixing up your content and you're having that variation. It should be as much about what you're giving your audience, not just what they are giving to you. People will engage and interact with you more if they feel they're getting something back from the social media, and if they feel like there's a relationship there that is building up. They feel encouraged, or they feel like they matter. They feel like the organisation, that we care about them. So it's so important it's a two-way thing. So things like replying to comments, maybe putting on motivational posts, things like that, to get your audience really engaging with you on a personal level. Where you can, spread out your content so that you aren't having loads of things on at one time. And try and break up, like I've already said, your content through variation. Having a plan will really help with this as well. Be intentional with your content. So you want variety, but you don't just want to be putting things on for the sake of it. So make sure that you're putting on content that's relevant to you and your organisation, and fits in with your audience and your demographic. You can stick with particular themes if that's what you want to, or if you're wanting to, get a particular thing across for a certain month or whatever it is, stick with that, but you can still be varied in what content you're putting on. It's important that you are posting consistently and regularly. However, don't just post because you think, I need to, I haven't put anything on today, or I haven't put anything on this week, Don't just post because you think you should, but make sure that you are planning content that is going on regularly and consistently. And again, a plan will help you with this. Thinking about the times of day that you post is quite important, so maybe consistency with that. Thinking about what time of day is best to post, gets the biggest engagement. Because there are certain times of day that you'll find people do engage more with your content. So it's good to have a look at analytics and things to work out when that is. There are going to be times that you have more to post and times that you think, actually, I don't really have much to post today. That's fine, but just being mindful of being consistent. And of course, then, like we've already talked about, keeping things like your brand, your voice, your the way you come across on social media, keeping that consistent too. So we're going to talk a little bit now about reach and engagement. So everything that we do, the main goal for it is that we want it to reach people and we want it to engage people. And that's what it all comes down to. So you can have the best social media in the world, but without getting that engagement, it doesn't really mean much. And sometimes it can be disheartening because you might put so much into a post or something like that, and then you don't feel like it gets the engagement that it deserves. What I would say with that is just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, keep being consistent, and keep putting your all into what you're doing. And it will pay off, and you'll start to see the results of it. But yeah, there are ways that you can help to increase your engagement, to make sure that your work is paying off. You want to aim for people to really be investing in what you're putting on, and getting something out of it, and making sure it's real engagement too. There are a lot of people out there that just like things, because they want likes and all that kind of thing, and that is a way of building up engagement. But it's so important that you're getting those authentic engagements. You're getting the people commenting, you're getting the people wanting to know more about your organisation. That's the real end goal. And it's great to, analyse these things as well, make sure you're monitoring who's engaging, how often they're engaging, when they're engaging, what kind of posts cause the highest level of reach, all that kind of thing. Keeping an eye on that is really important. Looking at your impressions and your insights. It all helps you know what content is working, maybe what content isn't doing as well, and just really monitoring that and making sure that you're using that to develop your social media. How to increase your engagement and reach. Unfortunately, there's no set formula. I wish I could say do this, do this, do this, and you're gonna get multiply your followers, multiply your engagement. I can't say that, unfortunately. It is just trial and error, and different things work at different times, different people, and it's not as easy as a set formula. However, there are many ways that you can encourage your engagement. So things like tagging relevant brands and pages and locations in your posts can really help. Hashtags, of course, are a really good way to increase engagement. If you're tagging relevant hashtags within your posts, that really helps. Timings of posts, we already talked about a little bit, but thinking about when people are on social media the most, when your audience are engaged the most. Is it early in the morning? Is it evenings? Is it weekends? Have a think about that. You can look at your analytics to find out more about when people are engaging with your posts, and that will help you with your engagement. Paid advertising is another route that you can go down. You can select different things like age, gender, interests, location, different areas of your demographic to help narrow down your search and your reach, which is really helpful if you have a set target audience. And investing money can really help you be seen and to hugely improve your reach. So it is something that is worth thinking about. Sharing your posts on your story if you're on Instagram, things like that can really help. Maybe thinking about getting some kind of ambassador with a bigger following to promote your organisation. Creating posts that are easily shareable is a really good one. So things that people can share and that you think people would want to share is really a good way of increasing your reach and getting your name, your organisation, your platform out there a bit more. Making sure that your content, again, we've talked about it before, but that is relevant for your demographic and for who's viewing it. So if you're putting on content that's just really not anything to do with the audience you've got, it's, people aren't going to be as interested. And yeah, so all the things talked about before, like making sure your content is exciting and relevant and fun, that it flows, that it stands out, it represents your organisation. And of course, consistently and regularly posting will make sure that your content is coming up on people's feeds. Asking questions to your followers, this is a good one. Getting people to tag people in posts, maybe doing a giveaway or a positivity challenge, things that are getting people engaging, getting people chatting and commenting on your posts. Live videos is a good one if you feel brave enough. I know I've done a couple in my time and can be a bit daunting, but it's a way to get people engaging with you on a really personal level. And yeah, everything else we just talked about, planning, content, all that kind of thing. engaging as much as you can with your followers, so replying to comments, liking relevant posts or relevant accounts, all that kind of thing will really help you build up your following and get your name out there a bit more. So sometimes it's just worth taking a bit of time out and just, searching for relevant accounts, relevant organisations who you can kind of build up a bit of a relationship with online, and like their things, comment, and support each other. And you can do that to really help build up your following and also help them as well. So it's a win-win. Finally, it's really important to set goals. I think this is important in all areas of life. Social media is no different. So it's important to have goals and to have something to aim for. This will hold you accountable. It will give you that incentive to carry on, even when you think, oh, I only got 1 like on that post. It gives you that incentive to carry on. And to develop your social media to reach its potential and to be everything that you want it to be. Make sure you're being realistic with your goals, because it's always better to set a realistic goal and to exceed it than to set an unrealistic one and not. So make sure that you set realistic goals. Share your goals with someone. This is good for accountability. And just be constantly thinking about what's the point of your content? How can you share the heart of your organisation with as many as possible? And just be really mindful of what you're putting on and when you're putting it on. And thinking about long-term strategy and things like that will really help you too. Once you've set your goals, it's great to then create action points from those goals so that they become achievable and they're things that you can think about and work towards. And yes, I just think goals are a really good place to reach everything that you want to reach and to go further than you thought you could go, and to make sure you're sharing all you want to share with those around you. So that's everything for now. I hope that you've learned something from this, or that this has been a reminder for you as you carry on with your social media. But if you have any questions or anything further that you want to know, then please do send me an email. I'll put my email address on here. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to chat with you further about anything that you want to regarding social media, communications. So feel free to get in contact. But I hope that you have got something from this, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time together. Take care. Bye.